Hi everybody, let's go ahead and talk about how to create your own custom brush using the variable line width tool. Boy, that was a mouthful, huh? All right, what we're going to do is we're going to start off by grabbing our line tool. That's this guy right here. And I'm going to left click on that once and left click and drag. And I've got myself a nice line right here. All right, now let's just start with, I can make the line a little thicker if I want to and select the points upward, a bit wider. And while I've got that line tool, and I've got it nice and thick up here on that stroke, I wanted to go ahead and basically show you that over here on the right side here, see where it says brushes and it says stroke? If I click on the little stroke menu, what I can do is after I've drawn my line up here, I can go and change what the end cap on that line is going to look like when using the line tool. So if I go right here to the end unit here, you'll notice that it shows the weight like here, like it does up above, 22 point. But it also shows the cap. So let's go ahead and do a cap here. Right now it's a butt, what they call a butt cap. It's a squared off end. Let's go put a round cap on there. So with it selected, if I click on this, look at that, it changes it to a round cap. If I select the next one, which is the projecting cap, we have this one. The difference between projecting and the butt cap is the difference between the two is that with the butt cap, the end or the end point is right there. This anchor point right here on the end is sticking out on the end. Whereas the projecting cap shows that black going all the way around there, so you sort of hide that end. We'll go ahead and put it out as a round cap. Certainly if you're doing corners, if you're doing corner objects, you certainly could use these ones, but we're not using that right now. We just have our simple straight line tool. So I'm going to go back here now, put that back to my butt cap, and just wanted to show you that. Two, you could also certainly go ahead and you click on the free transform tool, which allows you to go to one of the corners and rotate, right, like we've done before, where we've gone back in and rotated an object, right? And we like it, well, just go ahead and just relax, unload it, unselect the left click here, just let go, and you've got it. But let's talk about how to make the variable line tool work. So we have a line, a path, we've created it. And within this path, the variable line width tool is this guy right here. It's this weird little swishy line right here. It has this stroke diagonally across here. This little weird little stroke here. What I'm going to do is if I click on that variable line width tool, nothing happens until we move the cursor now over to this stroke. And we can go anywhere along this stroke that we want to, along the spine of this stroke. And what I can do now is I can left click and hold with my cursor directly on that stroke. Watch, I'm going to left click and hold and pull out. Look what it just did. I can go anywhere along here now and I can move my cursor anywhere along this horizontal path or the spine of the stroke, left click and drag out. I go wider, I can go narrower, I can go further down, grab one that's even wider. I can even go to the very end right here and put a little tip on it. Okay, so I've got a lot of options here, right? I can even grab a path that's right there and grab that anchor point and stretch that path forward and backward. And same thing here on this one. I can move it up this way, pull it back this way. So I have a lot of option here that I can go ahead and add anchor point, take anchor points away, and I can add. So at any point, if I wanted to grab another one in here, just left click, drag another one. But if I wanted to go narrow, I go in like this. Look at that. Then I can go somewhere along the path here and drag back out again. Right? So I have a lot of different options here. At any point I can grab on an anchor point and I can go ahead and extend that anchor point out to get that shape. So let's go ahead here and I'm going to go to this anchor and just tip that right in. So I get that right nice tight tip there. Now if I go ahead and left click on here on the path here, look at that. I can make that, taper that right in. I can go to the previous one here and click on the anchor, put it right to the anchor, right? And I can go ahead and grab that forward and backward, like I said. So you've got some options there with this tool. Now, when you create a shape, right, you're going to want to make it a brush. You certainly can do anything that you would like. So I've got this one here, and I'm going to put that down right there. That's pretty good. It's a pretty fun one. So I'm going to go ahead now and select this, and I'm going to move it off to the side up here and put it up here. Let's try one more. So I'm going to select my variable line tool, here my line, and I'm going to left click and drag myself a line. And there's my line right there. Now it's fairly thin, so I'm going to go Command or Control and plus sign, zoom into it. I've got that line right there. So again, I go to this guy right here, which is my width tool. It's my variable width tool. I click on that one time. Now I can go anywhere along here, and I can just left click and drag out, right? And notice I've got right here already, kind of like a line like this. This is kind of what I kind of like to work here. I've got this more tapered line on this side, which is a little more blunter, and I've got a taper line over here, which is very extremely spread out. I leave it like this, right? And that's kind of a nice little line right there. Okay. Now, if I want to go back and change it one more time, I can go ahead and click on there one time, left click, right? And I have to select my variable line width tool. And let's go ahead and bring over here. I'm just going to bring it in ever so much, just slightly. There we go. So that tapers in just a little bit more. I like that. All right. So whether I'm going to go ahead, let me Command minus and zoom out. So whether I'm going to use my larger shape that's up here, or this skinnier one, I can do either one and save those as a brush. So I go into my brushes, okay, and then with my brushes, I can go ahead and left click and then drag and hold it and then release. And let's go ahead and go with Art Brush because I want it to stretch. Say OK, and we'll say OK. Now I'm going to click off the side, select just this one, and I'm going to left click and drag it in, and then release. And let's say Art Brush, say OK again, and OK because I want that to fit. So my two brushes are in here. Here they are, 1 and 2. They're sitting right there. So what I can do is once I've got those brushes in there, I don't need to save these anymore. I can delete those. So I selected them, delete it. Now let's go ahead and select my paintbrush tool. Okay. So go back into my paintbrush, slide up to paintbrush, and I can select the stroke that I want to use. So I can also select them from this drop-down menu here. Let's click this one first. And let me go ahead here, and I'm going to bring in my line, and I'm going to go and draw with it. Nice, long, curved line. And there it is. This is that stroke. It's just stretched out to fit that space. Now, certainly I can do it smaller. And you see how compact it gets? Or I can stretch it a little bit longer. And it does just that. I can even go back in and do a swirl on itself. Do a tight one. Do a bigger one. See that? And so whether I'm doing a swirl, a squiggle, everything comes off of this line. All right? That being said, let's go into the other line. I'm going to lock, hide that layer, and then add a new one. So for my new one now, I'm going to go up and choose my other custom color, or brush, excuse me. So I'm going to select this brush, select it, and now I'm going to go ahead and I can draw again, my paintbrush, and I can go ahead and draw myself a line here. Look at that nice little tapered line I get. So notice I started from the top here with thin to thick. So let's do the exact opposite. Let's start from the bottom. Right? And it goes that way. So wherever I end this line up is what it's going to end up being, right? Where I'll end up. So let's go ahead and start thin here and down. Look at that. Start on here, and then and down. All right? Almost make a leaf shape. Let's go ahead and pull that out a little bit more, though. Let's go ahead and put this on here, down, and like this. There we go. Look at that nice shape I've got there. So I've created this custom brush where I can basically have a nice tapered line. Now with this, let me do one thing here. Let me go ahead and I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to go ahead and say Object, and I'm going to say Expand Appearance. Now why would I do that? Well, once I've created my my custom brush, and I want to go back and I want to fill this with color. I want to color this. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to click on Expand Appearance, and that's going to tell all the lines to open up and see each other. Okay. Now I got that first. Now I'm going to make a copy of this brush and put it off to the side. So with it selected, I'm going to hold that Alt key. If you remember that before when we were talking about that with shapes, I'm going to hold the Alt key and then left click and drag a copy of it off to the side. Can you see that? So now I've made a copy of my leaf. Yeah, we'll say the leaf. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in now and throw some color in there. But to do that, I have to convert this image and tell it I'm ready to make it into a live paint object. Okay, so I'm going to select both of them, and after I've gone ahead and expanded it, I'm going to go ahead and select with live paint and make. as in make it ready for painting. So I'm going to select off the side, and then I need to go grab my paintbrush. And my paintbrush is kind of hidden. This icon right here, see, it looks like the shape. It's called the shape builder tool. But if I click on that, it actually technically looks like the Death Star coming around the planet Alderaan with a Star Destroyer on it. I know it's a Star Wars reference, but there it is. I know it says shape builder tool, but it looks like, again, the Death Star coming around Alderaan with the Death Star Destroyer. Getting ready to blow something up. Okay, so I'm going to left click and hold, and there's my paintbrush bucket. It was right underneath there. So there's my paintbrush icon. So right now I've got a couple things going on in the paintbrush itself, and then I've got the little palette. But what I want to do is notice when I move this object over the object, those areas turn red. That means they're hot and they're ready for color. So I can go up here to the fill bucket, and I can go ahead and give myself a nice color. There's a color there. And I'm going to go ahead and select my paint bucket, and one click, filled it. Now I can go ahead and select maybe the other side here. It goes like a different color. Click, one filled it. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Let's go a little two-tone brown on this one. So now, but I will say though, if you do have a line, you can change the color of the line. So if I select this one, oh, excuse me, I want to use my individual select text tool, so I just get the one. But I can select that color and go, okay, let's go with dark brown on that. There we go. There's a nice dark brown. But I'm going to go ahead and fill it. So again, my object and live paint. Make it looks like it's all ready to go. So I don't need to worry about it. So grab my paint bucket, and let's go with a slightly lighter color. There's a lighter brown, and drop that color in. Done and done. Now let's maybe go to the other side here, grab a slightly lighter brown, and my paint bucket. Done. So look at that. Right away, I have two different leaf shapes drawn with a custom, right, a custom line, all right, that I drew. So let's go and shrink those up. I selected them both with my black arrow, and I'm holding my shift key, and I select those and bring those in. Look at those two nice little leaf shapes there, one live leaf and one slightly dead leaf or unleaf. So again, really quickly, the secret to this is doing for your custom brush is to have a tapered brush. Now I could use a brush like this, which has a tapered round end on it, and I can go ahead and draw with it, and I'll show you here. Let me go and change that over to black there. And grab my brush tool. And if I draw with it, I'd have to select it there and unlock the layer. There we are. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw with it. You see, it only gives a taper on one end. You see that? Because that's the one that's a custom taper. It's kind of okay if you just want a blunt, thick end on there. But for my money, this custom tapered one that we just created, this one right here, is a much more elegant line because we can do more with it. So again, all I have to do is draw my line, right? Draw back on my line here. I can zoom in if I need to. Go ahead and start that point there, right? And the only thing I can do there is to go ahead, once I've created an object and drawn it, I can see all the objects are separate. I need to link them together. So I do that by selecting all of the object and go Object, Expand Appearance, right? Because I want it to expand itself so that each line now sees each other, opens them up, each other, they connect. And then while it's still selected, we go to Object, Live Paint, Make. Now with that selected, I can go over to the paint bucket, which again is underneath the shape builder tool. This is the one you'll see when you come up to it, aka the Death Star tool. And we'll go ahead and pop on a light paint bucket, and I can go into the object, and notice how they're red. That means they're ready for color. So I can come over here, let's pick a nice, maybe an orange or something, and I'm going to drop that color in. Look at that, nice and easy. Now let's see if I want to do a slightly custom color on that, like a slight variation on that orange. Well, if I go down here, this little guy right here, right, and I can double click on this palette, which is a reflection of what's happening here and back here. This is my palette sitting open. This is my palette that I have to open manually, and this is what we call the color picker. With the color picker, I can double click on it and go to a slightly darker color, and then go ahead and drop that color in. Pretty nice. All right, so I'd like you to go ahead and you're going to experiment yourself. Go ahead and use the variable line width tool, starting with just a single line, and then you're going to go ahead and use the variable line width tool, this guy here, and you're going to make yourself some lines. So go draw some shapes, have fun.